Hello everyone, and welcome to the first episode of the Command & Conquer Tiberium Universe's Armory. In this series, I intend to go through the different weapons, infantry, air, armor, and other specialized equipment like different super weapons, and analyze them for their usefulness and to better explain why some of these vehicles might have been used instead of other designs. Eventually, I will be going through every different Command & Conquer Tiberium Universe game and identifying each unit, their place within the system, and how they were probably used in universe fights. Now, with the explanation out of the way, I'm going to start the first video, which, as the title says, is about the Brotherhood of Nod Scorpion main battle tank. The Brotherhood of Nod Scorpion main battle tank is also a light tank. It sports a armor-piercing, discarding sabot 105mm cannon, a dozer blade upgrade to clear mines and to crush larger infantry, and a laser capacitor upgrade, which changes its cannon into a very, very, very high-powered anti-vehicle laser. The vehicle supports 3 treads, has hardened steel armor with extreme front thickness on the main turret, and extreme rear and side vulnerability, as the other parts of the vehicle are virtually unarmored. The Scorpion main battle tank was first deployed late in the Second Tiberium War. It was created by Brother Marcion after Kane inspired him. The Scorpion tank is a continuation of the Brotherhood's venerable line of light main battle tanks, stretching all the way back to the original light tank. This tank in particular is also a very good concept model to illustrate the Brotherhood's progression into more and more aesthetically focused designs as time moves forward. The model incorporates a very well-sloped, extremely thick, forward-facing armor piece that acts as the turret, swiveling towards the enemy as well as offering the best possible defensive angle towards a single unit that the tank is targeting. The composition of the armor is, as said earlier, hardened steel, and it does not come equipped with reactive armor. That might sound strange to people just entering the series, but this is actually a fairly commonplace flaw, you could say, in different tanks within this universe. Most don't have that. In fact, the last one to potentially have reactive armor within the universe is the Abrams main battle tank, dubbed the medium tank, which will be a focus of another episode. And that tank was used during the First Tiberium War. The rest of the vehicle is, practically speaking, unarmored, and leads to what must be fairly easy proximity kills by high explosive ammo. Consequently, the drivers of these vehicles favor stealth and ambush above all, and would far prefer to take a shot from an enemy head-on on the armor, or maneuver into an area where only the front armor is presented to the enemy, giving them the best possible chances, such as between 2 tightly placed buildings or walls. Like all Brotherhood tech, the tank is built to be very quiet, very fast, and with its independently articulated treads, it has the ability to make sharp turns very quickly, even at speed. Its 3 treads are placed far enough apart that the vehicle can make turns on a dime, and this fact makes pursuing them through dense terrain a nightmare for GDI tank crews. The 3rd tread is placed in the rear and distributes the load to accommodate a possible second cannon or laser, and is able to rotate independently, as well as being attached to a bar that swings in either direction and pivots left or right, giving the tank an increased freedom of movement. The crew of the tank is relatively small, operated by a single pilot, with the mechanisms such as loading being taken care of by an automatic system. The unit is even capable of repairing itself to a certain degree after a pilot has been awarded by his superiors by killing a certain number of enemies. Unlike many main battle tanks, the mechanism in the Scorpion is very robust, being run by electric motors and extremely advanced solid-state computers, even with the ability to recover and return to action after an electromagnetic pulse attack. Like all vehicles in the arsenal of the Brotherhood of Nod, the Scorpion is robust enough to survive in an environment after a tactical nuclear strike, or even in an environment of a wasteland, a red zone of Tiberium, where just the physical area and the weather itself could rapidly destroy nearly any vehicle around. While the 105mm cannon on the tank is fairly light, the upgrade of a laser cannon gains the tank even fewer moving parts, making it even more robust and tough for its size, as well as gaining a very, very, very large anti-vehicle laser, as well as a substantial range boost. The vehicle operates with almost no background noise until it fires its cannon, and even more so when it fires its laser, although the heat from the laser does tend to reveal the tank in some situations, as the barrel sheath heats up under sustained fire. The overall weight of the tank is far below that of the GDI's Predator tank of the era, and is able to be airlifted from the relatively light Brotherhood carryall transports to any area of the battlefield that is not guarded by missile or AAA defenses. Given the speed and stealth capabilities of the carryall and the other stealth capabilities of the Scorpion, equipped with a laser cannon, means that it is able to excel in commando-style units. The extreme potential and range of the laser and the silent nature of it make the tank an intimidating unit despite its vulnerabilities, in addition to the fact that the laser itself has the ability to pinpoint counter individual infantry units as well, even on the move, when utilized with the unbelievable powerful AI systems and targeting solutions that Nod has access to. On first view, from the perspective of the slugging modern combat, the Scorpion tank might seem like a poor choice to field in comparison with the Predator main battle tank, a main battle tank loosely based off of the venerable American Abrams main battle tank, but such comparisons are misleading, just as the model of many tanks in the Second World War yielded to the versatility of the main battle tank model and the lower cost potentials of the post-war world. The realities of the Third Tiberium War environment mean that the tried and tested main battle tank model is not the only option available, and indeed in some cases there are some improvements to be made over them by specializing to a certain degree, just as the Mammoth Tank Mk3 and the Mammoth Tank Mk1, ultra-heavy tanks fielded by the GDI, meets challenges posed by its contemporary battlefield. The light and somewhat performing 105mm cannon and lack of rear armor in the Scorpion has its own advantages, including, and probably most notably, the weight differences and its ability to be extremely quiet on the battlefield. In addition, many of the battles that are taking place in this universe are taking place in blasted environments, shells of former cities, the craters of WMD strikes, as well as forests, large living cities, and flat, untouched landscapes. And that means that there are fairly large openings for more liberal designs. In the open, the Scorpion performs relatively well, especially with the laser attachment, and especially in large groups or columns, where its sloped armor and ability to be coordinated in its movements with the other tanks in its columns along the spearhead creates a larger unit that is more powerful than the sum of its parts. A lot of this coordination comes from the aforementioned AI, which the Brotherhood of Nod is, of course, the master of. This AI can take control of the coordination of entire tank columns, and while the pilot will be in charge nominally of many of its functions, it allows for what appears to be completely lockstep coordination of all of the vehicles in the column all at the same time. Additionally, the movement capability of the tank is unparalleled, giving it access to many environments with minimal refitting needed. In closed environments like cities, the unit performs well by being very quiet, powerful enough to perform strikes at unassuming units, and carrying enough firepower to level buildings when needed, although the laser radically underperforms here in terms of destroying buildings. In mixed terrain or hilly areas, the superior maneuverability and the ability to create procedural ambushes that all Nod forces have, the unit performs well. With a dozer blade, the unit can dig itself into the ground to a nominal degree to allow for a portion of the lower armor to be guarded by the ground as a sort of extension of the turret armor, while also camouflaging it somewhat. Nod units rarely apply camo and adopt for a radar-resistant coating, as well as other coatings that help prevent easy missile locks, as well as coatings that help to eliminate its thermal presence. Of course, in the light of all of this specialization and the advantages that it brings, there are still quite a few major disadvantages in this tank. Scorpion tank is fielded with a basic hardened steel armor, and this armor choice makes it relatively weak when it is to be fielded against other larger main battle tanks, and especially against the types of tanks utilized by GDI and later the Skrin that tend to be very, very, very hard-hitting. While the sloping grants more effective armor in certain areas, the lack of a more modern armor scheme, such as the armor that appears on the M1 and M1A1 Abrams, Burlington composite armor, and on the M1A1H1 and M1A2 Abrams battle tanks, depleted uranium mesh reinforced composite armor, causes the overall effectiveness of the armor to decrease in comparison of the tanks within our own universe, as well as tanks that existed before the descent of the Tiberium meteorite in 1995. Additionally, the main battle tank also follows an unfortunate trend in the development of Nod tanks to make them gradually taller, giving them a larger target profile despite a somewhat sustained, underwhelming cannon size. The vehicle also lacks any sort of anti-infantry specialized weapons, such as a machine gun, leaving the only option a Scorpion has for defending itself in a situation where the unsupported tank is facing significant infantry forces, either a rush forward to run them over, exposing vulnerable unarmored parts, or fleeing while firing precious high-explosive rounds or lasers shots. Additionally, the tank is entirely at the mercy of aircraft, with the notable exceptions of shots from its laser cannon at low-flying aircraft at long enough distances that the limited elevation capability will allow the tank to acquire the target. And last but not least, the Scorpion is defenseless against attacks from the rear, which, ironically enough, for a faction and vehicle specializing in and preferring ambushes, the best tactic to use against a Scorpion tank is an ambush with an anti-material rifle or a rocket using infantry. Some variations of the Scorpion tank include a second turret on a rear pylon, allowing for a secondary firing target to be engaged, or possibly for both targets to engage distant targets. The variation suffers somewhat from issues relating to ammunition capacity of the secondary gun in cannon and laser varieties, as well as power being pooled from the singular power plant in the vehicle being used to power additional weapons. And additionally, the rear cannon is very much under-armored compared to the front turret. So the event of a hit on the area on a cannon, it is quite easy to score a magazine hit. Beyond all of the rest of these disadvantages, and making them pale into insignificance, in my own opinion, is the weakness posed by the cockpit of the vehicle. While the front of the tank is well armored and well sloped, there's a glaring flaw in the design of placing a extruding cockpit that is lit from the interior on the front of the sloping armor piece. While the piece is armored by many layers of reinforced glass, a well-aimed shot to the cockpit with any sufficiently powerful projectile or laser will easily pass through it and destroy the pilot along with many interior parts. As mentioned, this is where the aesthetic focus begins to take more of a prominent position. Many Nod buildings, weapons, and vehicles are built to be flashy and flamboyant in the display of Brotherhood ideology, to give everyone an idea of what they're after and to make it sure that everything is instantly recognizable. They kind of want to spread their brand out. And their ornate nature has many innate disadvantages, especially with them being more expensive than they really should be for their size and complement. All in all, for the battlefield that the people in the Tiberium universe inhabit, the Scorpion tank represents a vehicle that is as specialized as any other formal Brotherhood units. And its balancing of advantages and disadvantages some might describe as extreme makes it fit into along with the battlefield as well as any other Nod vehicles. The most important distinction here is that the Scorpion is a light tank. Maybe a main battle tank, but it is decidedly light. Not necessarily made to slug it out in open field battles the way the Predator or indeed the Abrams is designed to. All in all, whatever your opinions on the design choices are, it serves its role well in a sort of representation of the Brotherhood's place in comparison to the GDI in this world. In a universe where all the remaining national superpowers are within the GDI, including most importantly their GDP and their infrastructure, while Nod sits on the most war-torn and disaster-struck portions of the second and third worlds, this situation becomes pretty clear. Specialization and guerrilla warfare is the only solution when one is fighting against the slow-to-wake steamroller of GDI's military might. And while the Scorpion is not, by any stretch of the imagination, the best possible choice for a main battle tank to combat the vehicles of the time, it does its job very well when utilized correctly. So, that's it. That's the end of the first episode of the Armory series that I will be doing in the Tiberium universe. Tell me what you guys think in the comment section. Like it if you want to. Subscribe if you want to. I am very eager to hear what everyone has to say about this. And have a nice day, I guess. This has been Game Master Karakin, and I hope everybody has a brilliant time. Bye.